Greetings friends and welcome back to another episode. So today I would like to do a video on Kodak and their continuing troubles or woes. They've been in bad shape for a long time, Kodak. So this is going to be a long video. I'm going to cover a lot, but the main thing is if you can stay with me through the most important part, I'll cover the most important part at first, which deals with the SEC and manipulation of stock price. And I think I don't have any proof. I want to preface this with saying I don't have any proof. I just have suspicions that there's some funny business going on at Kodak, okay? So let me be absolutely certain to say I have no proof about this. These are just feelings that I have that there's some shenanigans going on at Kodak, and I'll cover that in detail. Okay, so let's start by first, if you notice my thumbnail for this video, it says it's basically a 404 error, page not bound. And I think that is absolutely so poetic. It couldn't get any more poetic than that, because I'm trying to research the company's leadership. I'm familiar with a lot of the people in the leadership, their names and what they do. But I go there to do an additional research. And their main web page is separated into 4 columns geographically. The leftmost column is the Americas. The top choice is the United States, and then the sub drop down is the language you want to use. So I click United States English, and it's cannot find the page. It's like a 404 error, and I thought, how appropriate. That's really sums up Kodak over these last 4 years or 5 years. I mean, it couldn't get any more poetic than that. So let's go right into the heart of the matter here. Again, with what I feel is they're bordering on maybe some SEC violations and some stock price manipulation. Okay, so let's go to 2016. They announced the Super 8 camera. It never panned out. Okay, and if it might have been intended to influence the stock market, it didn't. As a matter of fact, the stock fell $2.03 just over those 4 or 5 days of CES 2016. So the market didn't receive the news of the Super 8 camera very well. Again, the stock went down $2.03. Let's go to 2017, the announcement of Ektachrome. The stock fell 90 cents over the CES 2017. But now 2008 is a whole nother ball game, and this is why I'm getting worried about Kodak. 2018, Kodak announces that cash miner, that joke of a Bitcoin mining machine, right? And it was supposed to be a partnership with some energy company. I forgot the name of the energy company, and then Wind Technologies. So it was kind of like this involvement, this cooperation of three parties. And the SEC finally ended up blocking it. The SEC said, look, this is a little too squirrely. I don't know where you're going with this, but from what I've read, the research I found is the SEC actually blocked it. But here's my point, the stock price. When Kodak announced it on January the 8th, here, let me get my note card here instead of, on January the 8th of 2018, this year, the stock was at $3.10 per share. 2 days later, the stock had risen to $10.70, so it had over tripled in 2 days, okay? And then it finally hit a high of 11.55 on January 22nd, and then it just went downhill from there. But my point was that the news on this cash miner had caused the price to over triple in 2 days, and again rise to 11.55. So there's a word. Now here's what I feel. Again, I have to be very clear about this. I'm not making a formal accusation against the company officers, but I have a feeling this is going on where they're engaging in proxy buying and selling. So the way it works is you have an officer of a company who doesn't want to be tagged with, trading stocks. So he or she can funnel $200,000 or $300,000 to a friend and just basically, hey, look, if you got an account at Ameritrade or whatever, and put $200,000, $300,000 in Kodak. Right now it's at $278 a share, right? And we're going to make an announcement at CES 2019. The stock is, right, it's going to stay flat, even if the market doesn't react. The least it could do is stay flat, or it can shoot up again. And then you just set a 5% trailing stop loss. The stock, whatever it climbs to, if it climbs to, right, and then once it starts to crest downward, it comes down. So at 5%, the trailing stop loss kicks in. You sell, you clean up, and then you and your proxy buyer and seller you come to some arrangement of how the money, how you're going to do the money. And that's what I really have a feeling is going on at Kodak. And it's, number one, it's illegal. And it's an SEC violation to deliberately cause these little peaks, these little short blips on the radar screen, and again to manipulate the stock price. It's just bad mojo all around. So here's my point about this very specifically. Sharon Underberg is general counsel at Kodak. I sincerely hope she has a talk with Jeffrey Clark before CES 2019 and makes it emphatically clear. There's no room for doubt, no room for any ambiguity. Do not move the stock price on fake news as you have over these last 3 years, okay? Because you're announcing things, they very frequently don't come to fruition. So if these things don't come to fruition, the only takeaway, again, I'm using the reasonable person argument from law. A reasonable person can conclude that the only reason you're making these fake press announcements is to manipulate the stock price, cause this little blip, and then bail out. You're engaging in this, right? It's called pump and dump. Pump and dump is basically what it is. They're running a pump and dump scandal. You pump it up, you pump it up, and then you get out of it. So is this where Kodak is now? Are the company officers knowingly and willfully engaging in a pump and dump scam at Kodak? And that's my concern. Again, this is not an accusation. It's a suspicion on my part, and it's extremely ugly. It's very ugly. So that's my concern about the stock market portion. So let's go into Jeffrey Clark, the CEO, Jeff Clark. Came on board in 2014. At the beginning of the year, stock was at $34. By December 31st, the stock had fallen to $21. It was a $13 loss the year he joined the company. Again, I don't know when he came in, but what I'm saying is it started the year at 34, and by the close of the year, it was 21. Today, it's at $2.78. Okay, again, let me say that again so we're totally clear on this. Kodak started 2014 at $34 a share, and today it's at $2.78. That represents a 92% loss in valuation. 92% loss in the stock's evaluation over his tenure. So here's my question about this in the board of directors. How can any CEO stay in place over a basically now a 5-year tenure inclusive, right? 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's 5 years inclusive. A 5-year tenure where a stock has lost 92% of its valuation, and he's still there at his desk coming to work every day. I don't get it. I truly don't. That is unparalleled. Only in like Sears and Kmart, Eddie Lampert, Sears and Kmart. Those are the only 3 companies in modern history that have been decimated by horrible leadership. Kodak, Sears, and Kmart. But yet, there's Jeff Clark reporting for work every day. Not getting it. I'm not getting it. Let's talk about salaries in the top-heavy nature of Kodak's leadership. Now I'm talking about Kodak Alaris. This is Eastman Kodak out of Rochester, New York. Jeffrey Clark made $1 million, I think $1.03 or $1.3 million last year. It's public knowledge, right? Now this is how top-heavy they are. They have 11 members in executive leadership, 9 people in senior leadership for a total of 20 people. That's a very bloated, top-heavy organization. When you have 20 people occupying very senior levels of leadership, that is very top-heavy. And Kodak is not making the money that can warrant 20 people at the very upper echelon of management. That's entirely top-heavy. The salaries, now the executive leadership, I said Jeffrey Clark makes $1 million. The other 10 make about $370,000 per year. The other 10 members of executive leadership are about $370,000. Now, when you come down one tier to senior leadership, they're probably at about $200,000 a year. So if you add it all up, their salary of their 20 most senior executives is $5.6 million. Okay, they made $94 million last year. So that means their salary represents 6% of the profit. There is no other company that you can think of where. Now, I'm not even talking rank and file, the people on the floor making the film or in inkjet printing and the printing business or lithography, whatever all the different multifaceted aspects of Kodak. You can imagine how many employees are on the floor. I'm talking the 20 people and executive and senior leadership account for 6% of the company's yearly profit. That's just salary. It's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. And again, I asked the board, WTF? What other company does this happen? It's just unheard of. So again, that's why I have concerns about Kodak's board, is that they're far too cozy with Jeff Clark and senior. A lot of times, in recent history, the CEO gets to choose his or her own board, and they do that for insulation, because if I'm able to pick my board members, I know they're going to be loyal. They're not going to fire me. So again, I didn't do a lot of research into the board members and who they are, but it seems there's a sweetheart deal between Jeff Clark and the board, because they should have put him on the curb a long time ago, and they haven't. And I'm talking about this buddy-buddy relationship with the senior people. They account, this 20 most senior people account for 6% of the company's profit just in their salary. It's not passing the common sense test. Okay, so we talked about possible SEC violations. We talked about pump and dump. We talked about proxy buying and selling. Maybe their friends are right when the stock peaks. They got buddies pumping and dumping and selling the stock for them. So let's go to the recent problems here over the last 3 years. Kodak Super 8 2016 CES. They announced the Super 8 camera. Now this is important because I did a lot of research on this one. The Super 8 camera is announced in January of 2016. Now they had some people working on it. Let's see here. It was now Danny Atkins, and Steve Overman are involved in branding and marketing. Okay, so they weren't really specifically involved in the development of the product itself. They're more in line with the marketing and branding. Okay, but let's get to now Jay Curtis, who was with PCH. He was the project engineering project manager, engineering program manager for the Super 8 camera. He was also a year later. Now we're at January 2017, and they did a podcast from the CES 1 year later. And Jay Curtis and Holger Schwarzel were interviewed, right? And Jay Curtis, they're talking about, hey, we're having some glitches, especially with the gate. We're having some problems with this and that. We're working on it. January 2017. 2 months later, March 2017, Jay Curtis departs the program. Now here's the deal. Was Jay Curtis fired because Kodak wasn't happy with the progress of the camera? Or did Jay Curtis say, hey, look, you guys are so jacked. You people are so jacked. I'm out of here, man. I cannot wallow in this incompetence. I'm just better than this. So here's my point. Here's why I think Jay Curtis left by choice instead of getting fired. Now, Jay Curtis left March of 2017. It's now November 2018. It's been a year and a half since Jay Curtis departed the Super 8 camera program. Where's the Super 8 camera? So you can't hang this on Jay Curtis. It's been 18 months since he's departed, and we're no closer to having that camera than we were 18 months ago. So you can't hang this on Jay Curtis. Now, Jay Curtis was replaced by a man named Steve Parsons. So now, as far as I can tell, it's Steve Parsons and Holger Schwarzel, who are still involved in the Super 8 camera program, right? Where's the camera? No camera. Now I'm getting back to, I'm going to diverge a little bit here to the director of communications. This guy is named Nicholas Rangel, right? Director of communications who doesn't communicate. So we've had the Ektachrome. Let's talk about here. Let's just get back to the Super 8 camera for a minute. The last update we received on the Super 8 camera was November 2017. It's been 1 full year. November 2017 is not now November 2018. Where's any news at all on the camera? It's Nicholas Rangel, Director of Communications. Why are you not communicating any progress on the Super 8 camera? Let's take Ektachrome. Ektachrome announced January 2017. The first update was a Kodakery podcast, November of 2017. Almost a full year. It took them 11 months. Basically, 11 full months. They do a podcast. Company is silent again until June 3rd, 2018. So that's another 7 months transpires. And on their Kodak Professional Facebook page, they post some absolutely ghastly, horrible images of some they took with Ektachrome. So again, I'm talking about communication. So we have an 11-month gap followed by a 7-month gap where they post horrible photographs that are supposed to be representative of Ektachrome. Nicholas Rangel, you are the director of communications and you do not communicate. No press releases, no updates. And again, this is why I'm talking about how that company is so jacked. He gets a free pass. Nicholas Rangel continually gets a free pass by not communicating with the public. If you're not communicating with the public, Mr. Rangel, why are you holding a position at Kodak to communicate with the public and you're not communicating with the public? Again, this is where I'm Jeffrey Clark, dead ass asleep at the wheel. He should have had called Nicholas Rangel onto the carpet a long time ago and say, hey, dude, what in the am I paying you for? You are the director of communications. I expect you to keep the public updated. You're supposed to be taught. You're supposed to be the face of Kodak, and yet you're silent. So are you playing video games in your office all day? Are you on Pornhub? Exactly what's going on? Because I need to know, because I'm paying you for a service that you're not actually delivering. So WTF, Nicholas Rangel. Again, man, I just don't get this. Kodak is so off the rails. They're so far gone. I don't think they can be recovered. And this is what I'm talking. Their stock price reflects that. They're at $2.78 a share. So my concerns, the same things that I'm observing, are those same observations are being made by investors at large. They're seeing the same things that I'm seeing, and that's why their stock is at $2.78 now. But the point is, if you want to get back on the tracks, you got to clean house. You got to start with Jeff Clark. He's not making the grade he goes. You bring somebody else in, and they clean house. First one to go is Nicholas Rangel. You're fired. You got 2 hours to clean your desk, and security is going to escort you out of the building 2 hours from now. So get busy cleaning your desk. That's what needs to happen at Kodak, and it's not happening. So here's my point. Now, again, we talk about plus and minus. I love the concept in ice hockey of plus and minuses. If you're on the ice, when your team scores a goal, you get a plus. Everybody on the ice, all 5 players gets a plus. If you're on the ice when your team is scored against, the opposition scores a goal, everybody on the ice gets a minus. So what that is, and it's beautiful, it's absolutely brilliant metrics. So what happens is you've got to build a statistical data set over months. Now, you can't do this in a week or weeks. It's got to take months, and you start to flesh out who's doing what on the ice. So the people who get a very high plus count, you can see that good things, okay, this is it, binary. Good things happen when you're on the ice. If you're on the bottom, you lead the team in minuses. What that means to the coach and to the management is when you're on the ice, bad things happen. And Kodak is completely oblivious to this concept in ice hockey of plus and minuses. So if you're involved in something, right, are you performing for the company or are you not? And I don't think this mechanism exists at Kodak, and that's why they're going over the cliff. So let me give you a classic example. Now this is where, again, I don't want to bag on Kodak just blindly and just blind hate on Kodak. Let's go to Ektachrome. Let me find my index card on Ektachrome. Diane Carroll Jacoby and Fred Kidhoff. Okay, Diane Carroll Jacoby is the product manager for film, and Fred Kidhoff, I believe he specifically spearheaded, his title was to bring back Ektachrome. Now dig this, it took a while. They missed their time hack. They said they were going to have it on the market by December of 2017. They gave themselves basically a year to make it happen, and they didn't make it happen. No problem, I got it. Some of the chemicals were no longer manufactured by the supplier, so they had to go back to the drawing board and start manufacturing chemicals from scratch. When they did their 5-inch wide prototype rolls of Ektachrome, they were 200 feet long, 5 inches wide by 200 feet. They came out phenomenal. They went to a production roll of 48 inches wide by 6,000 feet. They had problems. Got it. So you can tell there was a lot of variables. There was a lot of variables in starting up that big production with chemicals and just the non-scalability. They had problems with scalability, but they fixed it. So this is what I'm saying. There are people within Kodak who are delivering. And it's, again, Diane Carroll Jacoby and Fred Kidhoff did a magnificent job. So they missed their time hack by a few months. They brought it to market. It was supposed to be December 2017. They brought it back basically October 2018. It was 10 months late, but so what? I mean, as an investor, as a fan, look, I'm showing my colors. I'm a fan of Kodak. I'm loyal to the brand. So you can give them a free pass. They did come a little bit late, but they came through. They delivered. So I get back to the Super 8 camera. So what's the situation with Steve Parsons and Holger Schwarzel? So my point is, Kodak is so jacked. And it's actually laughable. I want to tell Kodak right now. Kodak, take your Super 8 camera. Call Elon Musk. Call Elon Musk or call Apple. Okay? And here's what you say. Hey, look, we're jacked up. We can't figure this out because we're completely lost in the woods. So let me hand this camera over to you, and how about you finish it and hand it back to me in 6 months? Because I can guarantee you, if they were to hand this camera over to Elon Musk or the people at Apple or the people at Google, they'll have their camera back flawless in 6 months. But Kodak can't do it. Okay, they were involved in it years ago in Super 8 cameras, but today they can't find their asses with a search warrant. So I'm not figuring that one out. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about very specifically, and again, I'm getting back to Sharon Underberg as general counsel. I just want to stress this again, is that she's got to have a talk. She's got to have a talk with Jeff Clark and say, look, man, these press releases at CES 2019, mum is the word, do not issue any fake news that's going to cause any blips in the stock price. Because if you do, it's going to be considered a pump and dump, and the SEC is going to be on our asses now, because this is the 4th year in a row that we have engaged in this ridiculous activity. Well, here's what most camera or any manufacturer does. This is a magic marker. So let's say I'm in the magic marker business. What generally happens in any industry is I make this. This is very secretive, right? I make the marker. We do R&D. It's very quiet. It's hush hush. It goes to It goes to prototyping. Let's make a few prototypes, and it goes to testing. Does it right in the cold? Does it right in the heat? Does it leak? Right? We put it through all these tests. Okay, everything. Okay, if it does leak, we need to go back. Just make some tweaks. We finally arrive at a good prototype. We send it off to manufacturing. You manufacture a large number of these. So we have lots of these in the boxes ready to ship. Then at a trade show or whatever, hey, my name is Rob, and I'm the head of the XYZ Magic Marker Company. Just want to announce a new product. We developed the Model 1 Magic Marker, and it's going to start shipping in 2 weeks. So dig this. Please dig this. Stay with me. I've already done the R&D. I've already prototyped. If there was something wrong in the prototype, we went back, re-engineered it, redesigned it, made it good. We sent it off to manufacturing, and we have a good supply in the pipeline, ready to get out into the supply chain. Then I announced the product. Kodak, year after year, nothing. They have nothing but a thought in their head, and they're making announcements based on thoughts in their head. That's why they're in the realm now of SEC violations, because they have nothing firm. That's why I'm going back to straight pump and dump. Okay, now let's talk about. Okay, we talked about the Super 8, CES 2016. We're going on 3 years. We're about to enter CES 2019. 3 full years have transpired since the announcement of the Super 8 camera. And I'm supposed to believe they're still having problems with this gate. Okay, really? Really? You can't figure this out in 3 years? You can't fix this Super 8 camera? We've got some issues, man. We've got some bad issues. Ektachrome 2017, again, props to Diane Carroll Jacoby and Fred Kidhoff. They made it happen. Now this is the big one. This is 2018 is Kodak Cash Miner. Never materialized. Then they had Kodak One and Kodak Coin. So let's talk about Kodak One. All it was, it's like DRM, Digital Rights Management. They were basically borrowing from Pixie and CopyTrack. Pixie came out in 2014. CopyTrack came out in 2015. These are what I call copyright light, because you can only, in the United States, you can only get a copyright from the U.S. Patent Office, I believe, right? Whatever it is, whatever office it is that gives the copyright. But I'm saying that's a very official, formal channel through government. Over time, it's like I'd said before about with Uber and Lyft, they're de facto taxi companies, but they never call themselves taxi companies, right? They're ride-sharing applications, right? They're taxi companies, but on paper, they're ride-sharing applications. Okay, so you get Pixie and CopyTrack that come along and say, we don't give copyrights, right? We're not in the copyright business, but we give copyrights. Don't tell anybody, but we're giving copyrights, right? DRM, Digital Rights Management. Now it's already been done. So Kodak comes along and they straight up rip off Pixie and CopyTrack. Oh, we got this great idea. We're gonna call it Kodak One. Yeah. Oh, what hasn't it already been done? Yeah. So that right. Then they come up with this pay program called Kodak Coin, which is like PayPal. So they rip off PayPal. I'm like, oh my God, there's not original thought in that entire Eastman Kodak business part. They can't come up with anything original whatsoever. They rip off Pixie, CopyTrack, and they rip off PayPal. Now dig this one, the latest one, and I have to laugh. The latest one is they'll send you a box and you put old photos in an analog film in it, right? Or like 35 millimeter film, Super 8 film. You send it off to them, and they're gonna transpose it into a digital, right? They're gonna even put it on a flash drive or some kind of CD or DVD, right? And you're like, didn't Legacy Box start this years ago? So you're gonna rip off Legacy Box? I can remember, this is no kidding. Legacy Box has been around so long. They used to advertise on Paul Harvey. I love Paul Harvey. You know, the rest of the story. Legacy Box advertised on Paul Harvey. That's how far back they go. And Kodak. In the year 2018, Kodak comes up with this bright idea. Hey, dig it. We're going to send people a box, and they put their old photos and stuff in it, and we're going to digitize it. My God, I mean, this is a Saturday Night Live skit, right? They should be lampooning this on Saturday Night Live, and the whole audience would bust out. And this is really happening, right? I mean, oh my God, I am so embarrassed for Kodak. I am so embarrassed for Kodak. You know what Kodak reminds me of? If I can issue you a little bit of homework, okay? There's a classic episode from The Twilight Zone. It's called A Kind of Stopwatch. And it's about this guy. The boss is named Mr. Cooper. And they make ladies' foundational garments, right? And he's got an employee named McNulty. And you're probably familiar with the guy with the stopwatch. But McNulty is always stuffing the suggestion box full of crazy, wacky stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the company. Ladies' foundational garment. He's coming up with new ideas for tin cans, flat hot dogs, new gear for soldiers. And the boss calls him into the office. Well, I made a note of it. He came up, this guy put 304 suggestions in the suggestion box over 11 months of employment with the company. All 304 suggestions had nothing to do with ladies' foundational garments. So the boss, Mr. Cooper, calls him into the office and fires him, right? That's Kodak. That happens every day at Kodak. I mean, seriously, everybody at Kodak is a McNulty. I mean, what are they going to come up with? Are they going to come up with square tin cans and flat hot dogs? I'm sorry, I can't even keep it straight. Kodak is so. I mean, how can anybody? If you ask somebody at a party what you do, excuse me, I still didn't hear you. I'm with Kodak, okay? Leave me alone. That's something you wouldn't even want to tell. You'd probably make up a lie. What do? Oh, I worked on at the car wash on the corner just to avoid saying I work for Kodak. I'll tell them I work at a car wash down the street. Oh my God. Oh shit. This is unbelievable, man. I can't. I'm losing it here at this table. Oh, I'm gonna have to wrap it up, man, because I'm just losing it here, man. I mean, Kodak. Oh my God. It's just too much. Kodak is. Do you see how hard I'm laughing? And this, you look at Google. Dig this. SpaceX, right? Elon Musk. Did you see the Falcon Heavy launch? My God in heaven, it just freaking when those two side boosters came down from space, they initiate a burn, so they slow down. They don't disintegrate. They initiate a burn. They slow down to just over Mach 1. They keep descending. They come down fire. Those 4 pads, the 4 feet come out. They unfold. They initiate a burn, and they come down to a soft landing, exactly where they were supposed to, within probably a second of each other. They were so synchronized, it was unbelievable. I was like, oh my God. But now, the center core, in fairness, the center core missed the drone ship, and it ended up in the ocean. A little faux pas. But the two side boosters was flawless. And you saw Starman. You saw Starman in that Tesla Roadster. And you thought, oh my God. Now, again, please, just bear with me. You see that, and you go, I am so freaking impressed. This is unbelievable. Starman plus the 2 side boosters coming down where they're supposed to come down. You see Google, what Google's doing. And I already talked about this in my last video with their ecosystem of the Pixel 3 camera, AI, the Google Maps car. So they got a hell of a database of images. They got an incredibly robust database of images, and plus DeepMind. So you see Google is revolutionizing the world. You see SpaceX is revolutionizing the world. We're in Kodak. Kodak is plagiarizing legacy box. And it's just, oh my God. It's just what they're pump and dump. It's what it would appear to be. They're in stock market schemes now, just trying to artificially inflate the price of the stock for a few days so the company officers can quietly have their best friends sell shares on their behalf. I mean, it's the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen in the history of modern corporations. Sears, Kmart, and Kodak. Just unbelievable. So here's my point. The stock today is at 278. 92% valuation loss under Jeff Clark since he began in 2014. At what point is it going to take for Kodak to tell Mr. Clark to clean out his desk? Hey, it's been a 5-year ride. Like that old saying, hey, it's been real and it's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun. So when are they going to have that talk with Jeff Clark? That's what I'm waiting for. I don't know. It's mind-boggling. So again, thank you for watching. I'm sorry I laughed so hard, but it's actually comic. Kodak is a joke. I mean, it's an absolute joke. But I will give props too. So let's end it on a positive note. They brought back, I think it was T-Max 3200, and they brought back Ektachrome. So we can't overlook that. Give props where props are due. Okay? Again, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. God bless.